Hello, everybody. This is Joe Fosco with American News Post, doing our sports podcast for today, Monday, July 29th, 2013. I'm here with our host, Michael Magnafichi.
Good afternoon, everybody.
And our co-host, Frank Coconate.
How are you?
Good, thank you. And I think our first item today for sports is baseball. Gentlemen, where shall we begin?
Well, Frank, I wanted to touch on a little situation with the Yankees, with A-Rod being, doing all
the stuff or the
the alleged stuff that is being brought against him, and seeing Jeter get back in the lineup and first pitch, boom, out of the park, hits a home run. So just storybook type thing. His 3,000th hit was a home run. Jeter's, in which there's only I think 18 or 19 players
but
that have had.
Can you believe how a guy like Rodriguez, whose star was rising? I mean, since I was younger, he was this Seattle young rookie of the year. Went to Texas for millions, did great there. Went to the Yankees with the highest paid contract.
Exactly.
Was like the ball player. He was the face of Major League Baseball.
He was.
And
he did the steroids in 03.
Yeah.
And then now he's doing all this stuff to go get it. And the Yankees are doing everything, to get out of the contract.
And if you look at Rodriguez, he looks thinner, a lot thinner.
He might be.
They probably took off because they're going to definitely.
Because he hasn't had the roids in him.
Right. Right. But it's sad. It's sad, and
it's sad.
For the face of baseball, a guy like this, Rodriguez, it's a black guy to baseball.
Well,
again.
You know what the difference is? Is now, back in the 90s, when steroids were at their height, most of the players, they would stick up for the other players that were doing it, even when they were clean. Now they're like, we want them out of here.
Because they're cheating.
They're cheating us. They're getting contracts that these guys can't get.
Well, here's the difference which the baseball guys created. We want, how could I try to get a good contract playing healthy, playing without any drug use, to help, and then you got this guy next to me that couldn't hit 200 taking the juice. He's getting the $21 million contract. I mean, it's unfair.
Baseball is guaranteed.
Right.
It's not like football.
Right.
Football, they sign a $100 million contract. $30 million of it is guaranteed.
Right.
They have, character clauses. They have this, that, all kinds of things that could, void all of that.
Like Ryan Braun. Ryan Braun's another great example. MVP.
He's still going to get $130 million
but here's
or $113 million.
This is what the other ball players are saying. If he gets away with it, I can't compete. I'm going to have to do steroids to compete with Ryan Braun. So the baseball powers have to stop this somewhere.
Right.
I'm assuming they have to stop it, and they're trying to stop it.
And then you look at a kid, going way off the chart. You look at a kid from L.A., Cuban defective, Yasiel Puig. Hits a walk-off home run last night.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers won 1-0.
Just comes up and he starts banging the ball all over the place.
Can't even speak English.
Every year it seems like you get some young guy comes up and he's just unbelievable.
And he's doing that, and it's just, it's so... as a baseball purist that I am, I just love seeing that.
Well, that's why
I love the Babe Ruth was a drunk.
Right. But he can play baseball.
He can play baseball. He didn't.
He
he wasn't injecting himself with anything to make him better. He was a fat guy. Ty Cobb once said, he says, he hated Babe Ruth.
Right.
Well, they built that short porch for him out there in right field.
Right.
322 feet, down the right field line, which it was.
Yeah.
And, he can hit a pop-up, and it will go, out of the park. And somebody asked him, some reporter asked him, he says, well, you got to say something good about him. He says, well, he had decent speed for a fat man. And
baseball, I'm a baseball fan, too. And to see what's happening
I am, too. I'm a baseball purist. I love it.
I like the game for what it is. And these guys getting juiced up.
Well, Frank, you know what it is? Baseball, out of all the sports, is the only one that we honor the records. What happened in 1928
Right.
We still carry
compare it, right?
We compare it with now. Now, if you you think somebody is cheating those things where these guys they weren't doing anything. They were just getting drunk,
partying,
having fun.
Yeah.
They weren't doing anything to make their bodies like cartoon figures.
They were making it worse.
They were making it worse.
If Mickey Mantle wouldn't drink, he would have been the home run.
What did he say? Mickey Mantle said, if I'd have known I was going to live this long, he says, I would have
watched myself.
I would have watched myself a little bit.
I mean, there was a guy that could do it all, Mickey Mantle.
Without a doubt, the Mick was unbelievable.
Well, like
Joe DiMaggio.
Willie Mays was one of the best. He didn't use no juice.
No.
Willie Mays, to me as a kid, he was I read books on him. I mean, he was say hey kid. He was
Willie Mays, that catch that he made. I'm going to tell you, it's not the greatest catch I've ever seen. The throw was the greatest throw I ever saw.
Right.
He threw that ball,
from behind,
caught it from behind, over his shoulder, and he made that throw. Willie Mays was without a doubt. I mean, he was to say.
I believe he's one of the best ball players of all time.
Yeah, well, he's definitely in the top 5.
Yeah,
definitely
he had the speed. He had the arm. I mean, the defense, the power. Everything. He had the eye, and he.
What did he get? 600 plus home runs.
Right.
650 plus home runs.
Right.
He was unbelievable.
Yeah,
Hank Aaron
he's still alive. I don't want to.
You know what? Hank Aaron is, in my eyes, the Major League Baseball, home run.
Yeah, the most consistent home run.
I put him above, because Bonds, with the juice, doing that.
Hank Aaron is. I don't think.
But he wasn't Willie Mays.
No,
he was not.
He was not.
He was not Willie Mays. Willie Mays was without a doubt the best. One of the best I've ever seen. Like I say, him, Mantle. In the 80s, I can't even think of who was the top guy in the 80s. Oh, all the steroid guys. Canseco.
Well, exactly. Bash Brothers.
Ken Griffey Jr. Here's a guy who never touched anything. Hit 600 plus home runs.
Right.
Never touched anything.
Right.
And due to injury, he
cut short his
career. But Ken Griffey Jr. And I got a friend of mine out there right now that's listening that will agree with me because my friend Billy W. He would agree because I used to always talk about Ken Griffey. Say
he was a superstar. He was a real superstar.
I mean, this guy was center fielder and he ran.
In the 70s, then you had guys like young viewers or listeners. The Montreal Expos had a team.
Right. I remember
with the red, white, blue, and the M.
I loved it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You had Ellis Valentine. You had Andre Dawson. Which his legs tore up, or he would have been one of the greatest.
Oh my God.
You had Gary Carter. Carter just died.
Right.
What a team these guys had. There was no, as far as we knew, and it didn't, in the records prove it, they weren't on no steroids.
No.
It was a more wholesome game.
But my stand on that is I always say that give them all make it all legal for everybody. Let them do all the PEDs. And who's going to be better? The better athlete.
Right.
The guy that has more potential will be better. No matter what you can't make. If you're going to make Superman out of everybody, somebody's going to be Superman number 1, Superman number 2. You know what I'm saying? It's going to tail down. But with baseball. I mean, I just love baseball so much that I just don't, I understand where, here we had Cooperstown this week. We inducted 3 guys that were dead.
Right.
And you know what? I don't even know who they were. Right. They didn't even put it on the news.
It was in the sports section.
Right. I didn't even
hometown guy McNamara,
guys you don't even know about.
Third cousin or something is,
like Ron Santo. Did Ron Santo deserve? They have to wait till he was dead to get in the Hall of Fame.
No.
He was a great third baseman.
Yeah, one of the best.
Great, he was.
But as baseball stands right now, they're at a crossroads, and I think the attendance has fallen again all through the league.
Right.
I think people are disgusted with it, with the whole steroid thing.
With this thing with Ryan Braun, when they get to a point where you got a guy sitting there vehemently denying.
Right.
And you got Aaron Rodgers saying, "I put my check up." I mean, what did Rodgers? He finally had to address the media about it, and he said that he was so disappointed.
Yeah.
It's he owns a restaurant with the guy. They're partners in a restaurant.
Right.
At least tell me, if you're doing,
I mean, look at these guys today. They're almost a couple of guys that throwback like that. Who's the guy in Detroit, the first base of the heavy sector?
Oh, Fielder.
Fielder.
Yeah, Cecil Fielder.
He reminds me of an old throwback ball player.
Right.
That Detroit team, there's some good guys.
And he was with Milwaukee, and that's the deal with Braun.
Right.
That was all part of the deal that they were making the decision. Well, should we keep Braun or should we keep Fielder? Fielder's just a fat guy. He goes out and eats his, barbecue wings and 12 beers every night.
And hits a ton.
Yeah.
Clutch player too.
Clutch player.
Yeah.
And that was all he was doing.
It'll be interesting to see what comes out of all this.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good. A lot of it's not
going to get better.
No,
it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Well, they claimed there's 15 players, 20 players.
23. 23 players.
23 teams. Bartola, the guy in Oakland, he's in trouble. I mean, he's their stud pitcher.
He looks like he can't, get out of a chair. And here's a guy throwing 95 miles an hour fastball. I mean, it's just amazing to me.
So we'll see. Well, it'll be interesting. And Sirianni, you said, is with the Yankees
now? He's with the Yankees now. He hit a home run last night. He hit the walk-in single, walk-off single.
Sirianni.
I've always been. I had a guy that I used to go by at the Village Pub. Friends of mine owned that, and I would go there, and I would tell the bartender there, a friend of mine, Dave. I don't mind saying his name because he was an old guy. In fact, when you go in there, there's a picture of Babe Ruth with a baby, with a 3-year-old, 4-year-old on his lap, and that was him.
Wow.
That was him. I mean, that's just so, you're like me, as a baseball purist, that you look at that, and Dave would go, and he would talk about, we'd always talk about baseball, and he knew I was knowledgeable about it, and I tell myself, well, I think Soriano's,
Walter Jacobson's claim to fame. He was a bad boy with the Cubs.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They got pictures of him as a little kid, and you see him now, you always remember that.
Well, I would tell him about Soriano. I says, I would be bragging about his statistics and, how good he was. And I'd say, you know what, he is Italian. He says, are you out of your effing mind? What's the matter with you? I says, no, he is. His father was Italian. The mother was, Dominican. He says, I thought you knew something about baseball. He says, first of all, he's not even where you say he is, top 5 in the league. I said, no, he's Italian. Don't give me another drink. I just to bust his balls.
Right.
I mean, he wasn't that great. I mean, he is. He's in the top. At that time he was. He was something special, Soriano. But I said, no, he's Italian. Soriano. I said, what's the matter with you?
He had a lot of prep coming into the league. I mean, coming to the Cubs, he just couldn't fulfill that contract.
No.
He didn't do what he... Not too many guys
they put him from second base to the outfield.
Right.
And that screwed him all up.
And the years they gave him, they should have gave him a 4 or 5 year contract. Let's move on. You want to move on to football?
Sure. We'll move on to the football. I guess everybody is... training camps are all packed.
Right.
Everything is going, and already in...
King Cutler's opening his mouth again.
Already saying that we're not on the same page.
A lot of the team has not played in the Trestman's.
Right, Trestman's philosophy of playing. So I don't know. What do you think, Frank? Do you think that's going to be?
I think that's a problem.
It's got to be.
I mean, Trestman is given the reins, and if guys aren't going to play into his system, I think they're gone. And if Cutler doesn't have a good year this year, I think they got to think twice about hanging their hat on him as the Super Bowl quarterback.
I agree with you.
I mean, look at Green Bay. No one's going to catch Green Bay right now.
I think, you know what, if I have to make a pick right now, and you guys could shove it in my mouth, 12 months from now or 8 months from now, whatever, I pick Green Bay to win the whole thing.
Yeah, the Super Bowl?
I believe they will.
What was that? You nodded. People out there can't hear them.
I
yes.
agree that Green Bay. I'm saying I'm going to get my pick right now.
Yes.
Then I would.
But Frank asked you, what was your question, Frank?
I said, is Green Bay your team? You
and
think they're going to
your
win?
answer is yes. Okay,
yes,
that's all I wanted to say.
And I will stand by Green Bay. I believe.
Well, San Francisco's going to have a little.
They're going to have a say in it, but I believe that Aaron Rodgers, Kaepernick is
good.
he's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's going to be the star.
Right.
You know, he's going to be, you know, Joe Montana of that team, and Steve Young.
And then on the other side of the ball, you got the Steelers coming back.
Steelers coming back with Roethlisberger. They got everybody going.
Right.
But you know what?
Colts with that.
AFC, you got, and with Denver, you got Manning. You know, you have all of that going on. What I would say though is that the AFC is up for grabs. To me, I think that it's going to wind down to a San Francisco, Green Bay thing. And
how about New England? They're done.
I don't think they're done. You know, I'm a New England fan, so I'm talking more from my heart than what I write down in facts here. New England is tough, but they lost. You know, you lose Hernandez. Gronkowski's not there due to injury. And that was a big part. They had that two tight end set. Right. You know, and
Brady's getting older.
I'm not even questioning him. You know, he could still, he could still ball it. You know, he's fine. I don't care about him. You know, as far as like questions.
I like the Steelers. They look like they reloaded. You know, it's up to Roethlisberger.
I just think that with New England, I just am a little worried of the fact that all the attention that's gotten from this.
And I'm like you too. The best quarterback in the league is Rodgers. I've never seen somebody
without a doubt
that just.
Here's a guy that wrote it for 3 years.
Yeah, right.
He wrote it for 3 years,
and everybody. There's points in the game where you think he's down, he comes right back and slings.
Comes right back, and
I like him a lot.
He's unbelievable. Yeah. He's a great quarterback, and for a guy to have the patience to wait for that behind a walk-in Hall of Famer.
Exactly right.
Favre. But I'm picking my team right now. I'm going on record right now in July 29th.
We'll bet $500,000 on that.
Well, I would do what Rodgers did. Bet his salary on his buddy's word. I'll bet a beer on it.
Yeah,
you can get me out of a beer, but I
like the
think that the Packers are going to be.
Oh, you know what? And then I lean towards Briscoe. The Green Bay's got to get by.
That's who they got to get by. Yeah. That's going to be a hell of a game because I believe that will be the NFC championship.
But the Bears, you don't see them going nowhere, or just.
No, I believe the Bears they'll get some. They'll get a playoff.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll get past the first round.
Right.
I think they'll get bounced, but. But they're coming up. You know, and if you already got this crap going on with Cutler saying we're not buying into his system, you can't have a coach in your top player, the player.
He is
you know what I'm saying?
I think he's a detriment. He's a detriment to the team.
You can't have that.
I agree.
That's tough.
And I'm a Bear fan, but I don't see him.
Oh, I am too. And I know that a lot of our listeners are going to be mad at me for picking the Packers.
Right.
But I'm just saying what the truth is. What I think. I hope I'm wrong. I would love everybody to call in to you or leave emails that American News Post that I was wrong. That fucking my
Mags was wrong. They wouldn't tell you to your face.
Some of them would.
Anyway, you had one more thing we want to talk about with football is the sophomore jinx you wanted to touch on.
Yes, I think that with RG3, Wilson, and
unreal.
What's the kid from
Andrew Luck?
Andrew Luck. I think that the one that's going to suffer the most because he did the best will be Andrew Luck, and he's the best quarterback out of all of them. He's a drop-back quarterback. I don't know why. I wish I had a chance to be with these teams and be able to say, what worked before works now.
Right.
They go with this spread offense, with the running stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, Frank?
Yeah, I do. I haven't been following the Colts, but they were 11-5 last year.
Right. He took a team from 2-14 to 11-5, got him in a playoff game.
Right.
He was unbelievable, and I think that he's, expectations after this great season as a rookie, I think that he's going to suffer the most. I mean, if he just goes, 8-8,
right,
6-9.
But I'll tell you, the guy that really showed,
6-10,
really showed, and you mentioned him. It really showed how
RG3,
how sad, not how sad, how much pressure there is to win at all costs.
That they leave him in there,
right? Is leave him in there that game where Shannon left him in, and the pain you felt for him when he hurt that leg. And,
right.
That was brutal.
That was brutal.
It was right out of nail.
I mean, that was something that you almost couldn't even look at.
Oh,
the way he
snapped his knee. You saw it right. You feel it just gave out.
The only thing I saw that was worse than that, and they said it, was Theismann.
When it broke out of the skin.
Right. When his ankle went the opposite way.
Dexter Manley hit him.
No, it was from the Giants.
Lawrence Taylor. Right, it was Lawrence Taylor. Yeah. Lawrence Taylor
came out of the box, and Lawrence Taylor, in a minute, they said it sounded like a gunshot.
Yeah.
That's the snap that they did. They said it sounded like a gunshot, and Lawrence Taylor was going, get over
as soon as he hit him.
As soon as he hit him, it wasn't nothing.
His foot leg dug in.
It went the other way.
Yeah, right.
It went the other way.
Right.
It went opposite, and it was like a gunshot, and he was like, Lawrence Taylor was like, get over here. This guy's.
So you think out of the sophomores that are, Luck's going to have the toughest time, or do you think?
I think he is because of what he did from so much of nothing. That even if he has a mediocre year, a 9 of 7
Wilson
year,
was a surprise.
Wilson was a surprise. And, Kaepernick, he's not the sophomore because he was there a year before, but he came in at the end of the year. So you basically could put him in there. And the 49ers, they got such, they're looking at NFC Championship.
They're loaded.
Right. They're looking at NFC
they got a great
Championship.
But
we'll see.
We'll see. Well, we've touched on
guys, that was a very stimulating sports piece today. I thank both of you very much, and I guess for the listeners out there, this would now conclude our sports podcast for today, July 29th, 2013. Our sports podcast will be back on August 1st, which is Thursday, 2013. Thank you for listening. Those of you who want to stick around, as you probably suspect, we are going to go into our behind-the-scenes piece, and what we have today for our behind-the-scenes.
What are we going to talk about today? What are we going to discuss?
Well, we have one of our fans has been writing me, asking me to run it by Michael that he would like to hear something about JB. And for those of you that don't know who JB is none other than Tony Accardo, the late boss of the Chicago outfit.
Anthony Accardo.
Right. Yeah. So, Michael, we did talk about this briefly before we started the show, and one story that came to mind was a conversation you and Joe B. had where he was sharing...
With a couple other fellows about it. It's a golf story.
And he was sharing a story. Why don't you explain it?
We were getting ready to go play golf, and Joe was, Anthony Accardo was a guy that he really didn't give
But you called him Joe.
That's what he told me to call him.
Yeah.
He says, call me Joe.
Why don't you tell that story, how that came about, then get into the golf story?
We go to pick up Joe, I pick up Jack, and we're going golfing that day. And Jack, at the time Joe was living on Harlem Avenue.
Who was that, Jack Robin?
Cerrone.
Oh, okay, Jack Cerrone.
Jack Robin.
Jack Palance.
Jack Palance. We were going to pick up Joe, me and Jack Palance. No, me and Jack Cerrone were going to pick up JB. Mm-hmm. And we go by the house, and he's sitting out there with his golf clubs, and, before we get there, Jack says to me, he says, listen, when the old man gets in the car, he said, you say, good morning, Mr. Accardo. I says, look, Jack, he tells me to call him Joe all the time. He says, don't you argue with me. You're always getting smart with me. Me getting smart with you? I never get smart with you. I'm always getting hollered at. How can I get smart?
Right.
And he says, he's the papa after all. Give him some respect. I said, okay. So I get out of the car, I grab his clubs, I put them in the trunk, open up the door, he gets in the back seat, put the car in gear. We're driving.
Now you're driving.
I'm driving.
Jack shotgun, JB's in the back seat.
He's in the back seat, and I just turn around and I say, good morning, Mr. Accardo. And he says, what the fuck's with this Mr. Accardo shit? I told you to call me Joe. And Jack's looking out the window like he doesn't even know what's going on. Because I'm like, you got me balled out by the old man now.
Did you yell at Jack for that?
Oh, yeah, I really hollered at him. Yeah, no, I was just... I really hollered at him over that. Yeah, Jack caught a complete bawling out the minute we got private together. Yes. No, obviously that didn't happen. But I was just like, why would you,
Yeah.
The guy tells everybody to call him Joe.
Was he ball busting you?
No, I believe that's what he wanted me to do. He just didn't realize that the old man,
don't want to be called.
He don't want to be called Mr. Ricardo. He don't want to, even in the car, in a clean car.
Yeah.
No
clean car
bugs.
meaning no bugs or wires.
Right. So
he probably thinks you were wearing a wire if you said that.
He was such a plain guy.
He wouldn't be in the car if he thought.
Yeah, he wouldn't be in the car if he thought.
Why not Anthony? Why Joe?
Joe was that's what he said. Everybody calls me Joe.
His wife called him Joe.
Yeah.
Everybody called him Joe.
So I don't know. Yeah. Well, his middle name, you said.
His middle name, according to records, his middle name's
Anthony Joseph.
But,
right?
Yeah.
Now, going back, somebody else wanted to, now that we're on the subject of Joe and why Joe, somebody else asked a while back if you knew anything about who gave him the nickname Joe Batters or Joe B. I mean, it's rumored that Al Capone gave it to him. Do you know anything about that?
I never heard it out of anybody's mouth.
It was never discussed.
Never discussed. The rumor is what the rumor is.
Yeah.
That he beat some guy with a baseball bat, and I guess Al said this guy's a real Joe Batters. In the early 1920s. Yeah. This guy's a real Joe Batters.
So
that's what I heard.
Yeah.
They portrayed it in the movie The Untouchables that oh no, that was Capone.
That was Capone, right. That's what Joe and I had a conversation about. I said, it wasn't JB.
Right.
That was, and I guess the guys that were there, they were out in that Indiana, what was it, Hut or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. They were having a thing for Insani and Scalise and Jimmy Belcastro. And, Capone was saying, I guess the movie is a little correct to where they were
saying, baseball.
Baseball, you got to be on a team. And if if anybody on a team failed, and he just started wailing away on these guys.
Right.
Very interesting.
You know what's interesting about that real fast?
Yeah, sure.
In The Untouched, they never portray a Cardo anywhere.
Right.
In any of the Capone movies, even
true.
in The Untouchables.
They portrayed Frank Nitti.
Right.
Never
portrayed
McGurn either.
Or McGurn.
Yeah.
Well, in some of the movies they showed you Jack McGurn. And
The Untouchables that Desi Arnaz produced portrayed everyone, I think.
Right. Yeah. He did.
Yeah.
Boy, maybe you're right. I thought Jack McGurn was in the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. I think they portrayed him.
Well, they said he was, but he had what they called the blonde. She was the blonde girl, Louise Roth. She was, his out.
Oh, he was.
She said that he was with her all night until the next day.
Machine Gun Jack McGurn. What was his real name? Was he Italian?
Vincenzo De Mora.
He was an Irish, right?
No.
As Irish as Joey O'Brien.
Joey O'Brien. That was Ayufa.
He was what caught the eye of Capone and Johnny Torrio at that time was the fact that he had somebody had a problem with his father, and they killed his dad. And the guys that did it, there was 5 guys, and McGurn went, before he was hooked up with it, he wasn't, anything. He went and he killed all 5 of these guys.
This was on Grand and Ogden, right?
Was that? Yeah, I'm not even clear on that.
Now, Jack McGurn brought Joe B into the fold, I think, brought him in to meet.
Absolutely. He was above those fellows.
Yeah. Now, Michael, would you go ahead and start your story about what Joe B, I guess it's a second party story. You're going to repeat a story that Joe B told you. You
got to understand one thing. The listeners, you guys, have to understand that when these old timers they got old, they would get a little loose with their lips.
Well, I figure how much longer they got to live.
They would tell us
they weren't confessing to
they
murder.
They didn't do anything. They were still stand up, wonderful guys. And he was saying that they were golfing at Cog Hill, which we used to play it all the time. Jack and I, JB, and my father and friends, Dinger, everybody in the world played out there. And I guess in the 30s, they were playing out there because I think McGurn got knocked down in 1936, so it was before that. when JB and you know, McGurn was in
that down. He was still.
Yeah.
Jack McGurn.
Yeah, in a bowling alley. You know.
Was it by the opposition guys or by the Marine guys?
I heard Willie say that you know he thought he should have a bigger end of.
So they killed him.
Of the cut, and you know he was like getting out of control, and so it was, you know, it was with you know
Willie Messina.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was with you know.
He trusted us with a lot of information.
Right.
A lot of information.
And he, in other words, another old timer
right.
would say, you know, I mean, what are we going to say about it? You know, we
right.
prosecute anybody over. Everybody's been dead, and they're all fertilizer now.
Yeah.
But McGurn, he was who Jack did idolize. You know, he was a sharp dresser.
McGurn?
Jack Cerrone.
Okay, we're talking about two Jacks, hence the word
right
now. So Cerrone idolized McGurn.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
So they're out on the golf course. Jack Cerrone wasn't there. It was Jack McGurn and Tony Accardo. And
this is Joe B's story to you.
This is him telling me.
All right.
This is Joe telling,
Go ahead.
a table of us. It wasn't just me, you know,
gotcha.
on the side. He was telling a bunch of us. And he said, so we heard, you know, how Joe talked.
Right.
I mean, maybe you guys don't.
No, we don't know. I don't know.
We heard that these guys are, you know, these Jews. And the guy comes back, he says, you should have yelled for. Joe, you know, they didn't know the proper etiquette of golf. And he says, for what? He says, well, you hit into us. And he says, the ball almost hit me. And he says, well, you better shut your fucking mouth. And he says, because I'll take that club you got there and I'll wrap it around your neck. You'll be wearing it for a bow tie. He says, we never saw them guys the rest of the day. He immediately left the golf course. Him and his, you know, his nothing partner, Jack McGurn.
Joe B. and Jack McGurn were golfing.
Right.
Yeah. And there was a beef. Joe B didn't know what four meant.
He didn't
because
know
they hit the ball.
You know, you hit a ball and it's going to go over somebody's head. You say four.
I said Joe B didn't know what four meant. I didn't say I don't know what it means.
He said four for what?
You know? Yeah, right. I'm just clarifying the story.
No, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
He must have hit the ball pretty good, huh?
Joe was an okay player. You know,
how about McGurn? You don't know because he played.
No, obviously I didn't know that.
But he was good with a machine gun, right?
I guess so. They didn't get that name for nothing.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Right.
But you know, Joe, you know, Joe could play. He was okay. But there were several times that I played with him that, you know, Jack, a couple times we'd be going to pick up Joe, and he says, listen, he says, today you're playing with the old man alone, just you and him a twosome. He says, I don't want you in the money game. You know, him and my dad, my father, and a couple of fellows that they were playing with. He says, he don't bet 2 cents, which he never did.
Right.
He made a statement. I don't bet anything. That walks or talks outside of my.
After you're done with them golfing, did you guys go drink or go eat or what did you do?
Well, you know, the old man, he was not a drinker.
Joe B.
Joe B was, you know, he wasn't a cabaretier, but you know, Jack would.
Well, Jack drank for him. He drank for himself and for Joe B.
But he would, you know, give me a bull shot. Bullshit. I never even knew what the hell that was.
Bullshit.
I have no clue, you know. But I know they got it for him. Whatever the hell it was.
Bullshit.
A bullshit. That had to be.
You know, I think my grandfather said that.
Right.
Maybe it was like maybe
bullion and some.
Somebody will look it up on the internet.
Yeah, somebody will look it up and tell you about it. But he would say, I don't want nothing to drink.
Name of a bar. We should open a bar.
Bullshit.
All right.
Well, we're not bullshitting though. These are all factual.
I mean, did you go eat anywhere? Did you guys go?
Oh yeah, we would.
Frank, you're dialing that number now. You said you wanted to call somebody.
Yeah.
And I would just want to reiterate, you're not telling us who it is, right?
No. Not at this time.
But you are going to tell us that it's not a gangster, it's not the
From the
Franzo.
legal community, I want to give a call
Okay,
and ask them about this golfing with Mike.
Okay, but it's not the Franzo or any gangsters.
It's
okay,
not the Franzo,
because
it's not the Carusos.
Okay.
I don't want to get in a fight with you, Frank. I don't want to get in a fight with you.
There you go, Frank. Do it.
All right.
There's your phone.
868. Yeah, well, those are good stories. I really enjoy them.
You know, Batters was.
Those guys are very, intriguing. The stuff they went through, that they were They're involved in everything. It was a heyday of Chicago. It's just to see what everything has turned into now. It's
oh, you've got him on the line. Be interesting to see who this is. Be sure to tell them you're recording a podcast so they know that they're being recorded.
Hello?
Esquire Jack Cerrone, please.
Yeah, speaking.
Yeah, this is a live iPod broadcast for the sports show with Mike Magnafichi.
Who?
I'm Frank Coconate. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, you're on a live sportscast, a live podcast with Mike Magnafichi. We'd like to ask you some questions. Jack? He hung up. Hello?
Picked up on a little stress here. You know, maybe you don't know, Frank. I've had an indifference with him over a phone-related situation, and I don't want any more problems with the guy.
I understand.
Okay?
I understand.
But I understand you made the call right now, so it wasn't me that called in.
No, it's me.
But you do understand now? So you got me a little nervous, and I don't want to be locking horns with the guy over
You have
phone.
nothing to do with the call.
Okay,
I
thank
understand that. It was me because I wanted to ask him questions over the stuff we talked about today.
Right. Okay.
Because
Yes.
Mike brought up Jack, his father.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask the father, or I wanted to ask the son.
Yeah.
What do you think of all this old time talk? Is it it's interesting, and
Yeah.
what do you think of his viewpoint? That's
Right.
all. And it was bad communication on the phone, and
I see.
so it's hard. I want to let him know we're on a live sportscast.
Well, I told you whoever it was you were calling, you should do
Yeah.
that, and I'm glad you did
Yeah.
that. I just
But that was anybody that's out there. That's Jack Cerrone,
you know,
the attorney.
well, you and Michael had some conversations in recent times about people he doesn't want you to be calling, and maybe you and I, after the show, should sit down and maybe I should make a list of
Maybe,
people
but
that
I don't think
I don't want.
Mike didn't get upset about that. Did you, Mike?
Well, there's certain things I don't want. I like the sports part about it. I could yak all day long.
Well, like if I brought up Joey
And talking about old times with,
Yeah.
with JB and him sharing stories with me, I don't think that is such a, horrible thing,
Yeah.
digging into this.
I mean, and one thing I will say in defense of what we're doing in this podcast, and when Jack Cerrone, the late Jack Cerrone's mentioned, it is something that, Michael, I think you could agree with me, we kind of learned this stuff. What I mean this stuff is, we learned from Jack, the lawyer, that he's totally okay talking about his father. I mean, he takes pride in...
Well, he has.
He has taken pride in talking about his father in the most infamous ways, though,
Right.
which is interesting.
Well, Jack Jr., is that Junior? In his own right.
Technically, legally not a junior, and he'll be the first to tell anyone and everyone that. In fact, he usually explains he's the only real Jack Cerrone, is what I've heard him say.
Right.
What is
because
his
he's
father?
not Jack.
Yeah, his
Jack?
birth certificate is Jack, J-A-C-K, for the lawyer.
Right.
His
The
dad
father
is
was
John,
Philip.
and his son is John Charles.
Well, in his own right, he's a very powerful man.
Well, he's a wealthy guy. He has a lot of friends.
A lot of friends. A lot of friends.
Despite the fact he couldn't get a conviction against me on phone harassment, but he does have a lot of friends.
Yeah.
And he had an illegal conviction on the record for a while, but that has been cleared up and corrected. So, as I said, he couldn't get a conviction against me with all of his friends and money. You got me a little nervous over this call.
Take it easy. Take it easy.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And let me try to get my bearings together.
We
Okay.
pretty much touched on a lot of things today. I mean...
Yeah, right. And Is there anything, Frank, you wanted to go into with the Franzos? You said you and
I
Joey
wanted to talk to
going?
Jack. I wanted to talk to Jack too, see if he eats at this. What the media makes it out to be like the place is Alex Dana, is Rosebud Cafes.
Oh, the restaurant.
You know, Alex was pretty locked in, wasn't he, with these people?
Well, sure. Well, he owns it. You know, he owns the restaurant.
I know he owns the restaurant, but was Alex Dana close to the outfit?
Well, he was acquainted. I will say that.
I mean, because at one time Taylor Street was a big
Well,
hangout.
Alex used to tell a different story.
I'm sorry, the Rosebud on Taylor Street. Now, this is what I was told by Joey DeFranza. Joey, now, this is Johnny's younger brother.
Right.
That, come on, we'll go to Rosebud, we'll have something nice to eat, get some blow, cocaine from Alex.
You know what?
Wait, and then we go upstairs, he's got broads.
Frank,
Now,
this was so surprising
this
to
was
me.
in the 80s now.
That Joey was, storing cocaine. And I have heard that from other people, and I, till this day,
Well, the hell, he grew a pot farm, for God's sakes.
Well,
Why would it be a surprise?
Business is one thing. I just couldn't believe that.
But Dana, Alex Dana was given a lot of, he was a
Was Alex doing it?
Yes, that's what
he must have been. I mean,
let me interject. Allegedly. There's nothing.
Until
proven in a court of law, this is all an allegation. It's not factual, and we've no concrete or conclusive evidence that a businessman, a prominent businessman in the community like Alex Dana, is a cocaine user.
Well, I've heard
none whatsoever.
No, you're right.
Okay.
You're right. It's all.
But
I heard any stars, anybody that came to see him, they knew he can get them, cocaine.
See, that was something I didn't know. I mean, maybe
allegation.
Just something that
but Joey
DeFranza,
Joey acted like he owned him. I mean, was it DeFranza?
Maybe he did. I have no clue. All I know is that when Alex would tell stories about Jack, the old man Jack Jerome Sr. He'd talk about, this was obviously after Jack was dead.
Yeah, well, most guys are pretty tough after.
Right, you get your whiskey guts after that. And he didn't.
I'm the toughest guy in the world after 4 or 5
After all my enemies are dead. Joe Frazier would say,
I could take him. Hey, I could take Joe Frazier.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt with my comment, and it wasn't even meant toward anybody that we're talking about. It was just a general piece of humor.
He felt that,
No, who's he?
Alex.
Oh.
Alex Dana. Yeah. He would say stories about Jack, certain stories about when they had Park Place, when Alex was a partner in there. Actually, he was a cook in there.
On Grand Avenue there?
Yeah, but he did have a piece, and he would, he would tell stories later. Now I say this is after 96. Jack departed in 96.
Right.
Okay. And he would tell, now all these stories come out, and we'd be sitting there listening to it, and I would just look and just, shake my head to say, if this guy was alive, would you be saying this? Why didn't you say? He was in jail and couldn't get in.
And he was rapping Jack's wrong after he died.
After Jack died.
Like what?
Saying, just silly stories that Jack came in drunk, he did this, did that. Which was
stuff he never would have said.
Something he never would have said. Call him Baldy. The eagle came in. The eagle. The bald eagle. Right. And he would say that, and I would just look at him, and finally I had enough. Joe. Finally I had enough with it, and I, called him on the spot. I said, if that guy were alive, would you be saying that about him?
What do you go? Do you think you were going to do something to him?
Well, I mean, he knew that I couldn't because he was friends with somebody I don't want to. No, I won't get into that.
Johnny DeFranza?
No. He was partners with. He was partners with somebody that I just.
From Taylor Street?
No, I just wouldn't name
Johnny the Bug. He was partners with.
Well, he was partners. Yeah, initially, but I just
Yeah,
they're still living,
I don't want to get arguing with you again.
No. Don't try to draw it out.
Right.
But I will reference another time that I was at the driving range with Sam Carlisi and little Jimmy, Wayne Bach, my dad, everybody. We're hitting balls, and I was giving Sam lessons at the time, and some of the fellas started talking. I don't know how the conversation got to this because I didn't know the guy. I was 8 years old when the guy died, so how the hell would I know? But they're talking about Milwaukee Phil,
Right.
And they're saying how crazy he was, and he was this, and he was, oh yeah, I remember this time here, and that time there, and this time over there. You know, all saying that shit. And Sam, who was the boss at the time, he says, you know what? He says, when that guy was alive, nobody said a fucking word about him.
Right.
He says, now he's dead, everybody's saying these stories.
Wrapping him.
Everybody shut up.
Right.
Everybody shut up. Now, I don't have a reference to a Milwaukee Phil story because I wasn't even born, you know, I was, you know, in diapers, basically.
According to Joe Lombardo, Milwaukee Phil was a C-U-N-T. And, did you ever hear anything about that?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
I never knew that Joe said that about him.
Yeah. It was confirmed.
Well, he worked for Joe.
Yeah. He did not like Milwaukee Phil at all.
I don't think anybody that worked
According to
Phil,
Joe, Phil couldn't back up anything physically.
That might be the truth.
You know, I don't know. You know.
I don't know either. I mean, I've heard that though. I mean, like you say, to back it up. I can say that it's been backed up by several conversations I've heard.
Now, remember, George Calusi and Willie Messina and I were having lunch or breakfast once at the
Well, didn't Willie have an incident with Phil?
If he did, it doesn't come to mind, but where I was going with this breakfast I had with them, George mentioned he drove, I don't know if he drove Phil or Mooney to the airport. He drove one of the two. And when he was there with whichever one he drove, the one he didn't drive showed up. And Mooney was going out of town as usual, according to George Calusi, and he told Phil, he gave Phil some orders and said, I want you to do this and that. And Phil listened to the orders and said, no, I'm going to do this and this and this. And Mooney said, he pondered for a second and said, okay, that's fine. And he got on the plane and left. And George told the story because he was shocked that Phil would back the boss up like that. I mean, back him off of what he wanted to do.
Right.
And then, and the other thing that he told that Willie agreed to, what George told me, he said that when he would come to the Casa Madrid,
the gambling joint.
Yeah, he'd come. Right. He would go there, and he said that when Jack Cerrone's guys were there, and he didn't say who the guys were, but we could leave that for our imaginations. And this is back in the 60s, so it was before you were on the scene.
Wasn't born.
George said, well, you were born in 62. George said that all of Jack's guys used to give, as soon as Phil would walk in, they would go out of their way to pay Phil respect and shake his hand and say hi to him.
I could see that.
Yeah.
You know, I could see. You know, you always pay homage to the boss.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not out of.
Well, you're referring to Phil.
Well, Phil probably he was the boss at that time. You know, well, Mooney was
kind of a street boss.
Yeah, he was. You know, the underboss.
Yeah.
You know, behind Mooney, and of course you would. You know, what are you gonna do? You gonna spit in his face?
No.
You know, I mean, here's a guy that had the reputation. Now, maybe he didn't do what his reputation got him to be.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't that person. But there's a guy that these guys think that he'll rip your head off, and he's got the title. He's got the stripes.
Right.
You know, so
because in those days, I remember.
Right.
I mean, I was told Mooney had one of the toughest crews around. He was part of that crew, and they were money makers.
Oh, he did.
And Charles Nicoletti,
yeah.
Milwaukee Phil, Potatoes Dodano, wasn't he with them?
Yeah.
Willie Potatoes.
Old man Willie. He was.
I mean, they had one of the toughest crews around.
Right. He did.
And they could say what they want.
It looks like that the guy that was the least toughest out of all those guys was the guy that was in front of them, which was Milwaukee Phil.
Their figurehead.
The guy that they, you know,
somebody
that they all, you know, like Willie would say a lot to, and it looks like he wasn't the, you know, the real, you know, big shot out of all of them. But I don't know, like I say, I, like Joe said, you know, you were born in 62. What the hell do you know about that? I don't know. I only know stories I heard.
Right. Like all of us.
Right. And I know Willie referenced a few stories about Phil that he was when Battaglia Teets was boss. Then I guess Willie had some inference with Milwaukee Phil. And he's, you know, his guy was Jack. You know, Jack was a capo, and he says, well, my guy's the boss. He says, well, my guy's riding high on the totem totem pole. That's how he said it. You remember that? Remember that, Joe? I think he said that several times at breakfast.
Sure.
Who said Willie?
Yeah, he's talking about Jack. Well, my guy's on the totem pole. You know, I don't know, is it the totem pole or the totem pole? I don't know.
That's great.
So, back to Rosebud. So what about Alex Dana? Did you like him? Or you didn't like him what he said about Cerrone?
Well, when he would say things when I wasn't around about, because I would never allow that. You know, nobody could talk about Jack in front of me.
Yeah.
Jack was a father to me. Nobody could talk about that. And only the, you know, things that Alex would say if you brought it up to him about some stuff, you know, when Willie would, you know, get in his face or whoever.
Well, was Alex, what, did he hold court in that place on Taylor?
Well, afterwards he would, you know, because he had...
A lot of guys hung there, right?
He had all the stories. And, you know, he would talk about stuff that, you know, I happen to know wasn't true.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just figured that he was, you know, full of shit. And it just, you know, I was just waiting for him.
People hide in the kitchen?
Oh, he wouldn't come out.
Why, when guys would come in?
Yeah, well...
Or Jack, I mean.
Well, not even Jack. I remember at the time at the Rosebud where he would, you know...
I remember,
Sinatra came in.
Well, I don't know about that, but you're talking about hiding in the kitchen. That reminds me, I know Willie went there once, and he wouldn't come out of the kitchen, Alex. And
he would.
Did he hide in the kitchen with Jack or anything?
With Jack?
I mean, from Jack.
Yeah, he would do that. You know, if he was working that evening, and then, you know, all of a sudden, Jack, we come in from hitting golf balls, you know, which I wasn't a part of that. But if Jack came in with, you know, whoever, and they were hitting golf balls and went in there to have a couple cocktails at 3:34 in the afternoon, Alex wouldn't come out. He'd shit all up. Only the laundryman knows how nervous he was.
Why, though? I mean, why? He didn't want to give him
because,
food
you know,
or what?
Because he would say so many things about him, you know, reference to his, you know, Jack was a little, you know, temperamental about calling him.
Hey, I can relate with that.
Well, you know what I'm saying. I mean, he was not, you know, that wouldn't be something that Jack would do. I remember a story with Dinger that Dinger had some broad, and him and my father were golfing, and Dinger met some broad at Rockies, and Jack had a cap on. They were golfing together, and the broad met them there. It was just, you know, four of them, or three of them, and. You know, Jack, you know, he had hair on the side. You know, so, and then, you know, Jack took his cap off. She goes, "Oh, my God." She says, "I didn't know you were bald." And he reached in his pocket, and he always carried $5,000, $8,000 on me. He put a package on his head, a package of $5,000. He goes, "How does my hair look now, sweetheart?" She goes, "It's the most beautiful head of hair I've ever seen in my life."
That cabbage.
That shut her right up. She goes, "Oh my God, I didn't know you were bald. I thought you were such a handsome," which Jack was a handsome man.
You know, backing up a second, when we were talking about Phil and the guys around Mooney, and you mentioned Willie. I think Frank, you mentioned Willie Potato's name, and Michael agreed with it. And I think Michael, you made a comment that he was a rough guy and all that. And it's got to be. I think it's interesting how his grandson Billy the Third. It just he tries to be a rough guy, you know, but his toughness only comes out when he can ambush someone when they're not expecting it, and he's always accompanied by a bruiser, some tough guy. And I know in at least one of his numerous arrests that I'm aware of where he's ambushed and snuck up on people. He beat a kid, a young guy, with a baseball club, and you know. So I mean, the guy uses weapons. He's unpredictable. He ambushes, and you know, none of that's really tough. So I would imagine a guy like his grandfather would walk in and face somebody, you know, and you know, be a man about it.
They were a different breed.
A man about it.
They were a different breed. They were men.
Yeah. Right.
They'd fight you straight, you know.
Right.
They don't care what the odds were, they're going to fight you.
Right.
Where today everybody's more...
sneaking up on you.
Sneaking up, and they don't have the balls.
I mean, you see what they're doing in the streets of Chicago with these gang bands. They drive by, they're shooting, you know, poor little kids are getting injured, and which is it's repulsive.
It's insane.
It's repulsive to even look at it.
And for
Every
the most
morning.
part, Billy the Third, speaking of beer muscles earlier, Billy, he has to get intoxicated before he could even muster the courage to get someone to go with him to sneak up on somebody with a weapon.
He needed that fire water to get worked up.
Yeah, right.
Well, that stuff all makes all of us get a little.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
A little bit.
What's my excuse then? I'm just not.
You don't need it. You don't need
Nah,
it.
I just, you try to think and analyze.
Oh, I've done several things on alcohol that, I've never done anything else but alcohol.
Yeah, we're not a church group here. We're
Right,
just,
right.
just talking about the good old days, I guess they call them, with the outfit.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to, there's going to be a busy week this week.
Right.
With the sports.
Right.
Come Thursday. I didn't even touch on the golf. Brad Seneca won the PGA.
Well, our sports audience already signed off.
Okay,
And we ended
I was
that
just saying
segment,
that you
Yeah.
played a hell of a round. I just wanted
but
to
some
mention
who have probably remained on will hear.
Right, we'll hear that.
You know what I was thinking of too, just off the top of my
Yeah,
head?
what?
We should do political endorsements coming up when it comes close to election time with Mike. And Mike do some endorsements who he thinks is the Alfix politician.
Well, we'll give that some more thought.
Yeah, I mean, I just to throw it out there. Who maybe Mike likes for governor.
Other than my son, I don't like anybody.
Michael doesn't care about politics.
No, I don't know anything about it.
All right, everybody out there, thanks for listening to our behind-the-scenes piece. I think we'll call it a day, right, guys?
Sounds
That
good.
but we will be back again on August the 1st, which is Thursday. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Have a nice day, everybody.
Take care.